Listening to Bolton Can We Talk. I'm your host Ron Badia on CJFB-FM, live in the studio. The proprietor of thishouse.ca, Mr. Arsen Gulesserian, registered broker with Remax. His website, thishouse.ca. Our phone lines are open, 905-951-2899, as well as email. If you'd like to email in a question, if you're a little shy to go on the air, you can reach us at info@radiocaledon.com. And speaking of which, I have a question from Malcolm. What is the average rate of commission when you hire a real estate agent? That's the question.
Okay. Well, the average rate of commission in the industry is about 5%. And what happens with that is usually what we offer is, of the 5%, we offer 2.5% to cooperating agents, meaning that we offer to an agent that is bringing a buyer in that, and then we give that 2.5% on that. Sometimes when the listing agent, like myself, if we sign a contract for 5%, sometimes when we bring in a buyer, we give a little bit of more of a discount rate on that, so it makes it a little bit fair for the seller on that.
And that's just a general guide. Everything can be negotiated. That brings to mind the topic of what about some of these signs I see where you say 1% commission or a severely discounted commission. Are they offering the same services, or is that something that reflects the kind of services they offer?
Service is determined by the realtor themselves on that. The 1% commission, in my opinion, is a little bit misknown. You need to be clear about it. In today's marketplace, you literally have to offer 2.5% to other agents to bring in a buyer. I mean, under the Competition Act, technically you could offer 2% or 1.5%, but in the real world, what happens is that, 2.5% attracts a lot of agents to bring in their buyer. In some situations, when you are more motivated to sell, you offer cooperating agents 3% or even higher. I've seen as high as 5% to bring in the buyer on that. So there's a lot of factors on that. With the 1%, basically it's the listing agent that collects 1%, but in the real world, 95% of deals are done through another agent, and then so in this situation, it would be at least 3.5% commission. As far as the services that they offer, each company, each agent varies on that, so you'd have to take a look at it closely. I'm not here to judge on that, but basically the service is very important, what they promise, what they deliver, and in today's market, honestly, just listing your property on MLS is not enough. You have to advertise print, media, internet, radio, every form of media out there, because you don't know where your buyer is going to come through. And that's the key. You got to market, price, stage to sell.
That brings to mind yet another topic. It was in the news a few months ago how there was discussion of MLS being available to register your property to just anyone. And it made me think, and think rather deeply, that just because people may be able to access MLS.ca and market their property, that won't change the fact that there are still realtors, such as yourself, that offer services above and beyond by just simply listing it on MLS.ca. You offer a great deal of services if somebody were to list their property with you. Topics such as staging, acting as the negotiator, and a whole list of other things that you offer are very key and important. So you're not just a gatekeeper to place the property on MLS.ca. Isn't that the case?
That is correct. The MLS.ca is a public website there where all the buyers would go onto it and do their research for looking for a property. But the fact of the matter is a lot of the districts have their own real estate board, and most of the realtors, they search on their own real estate board. I'm a part of the Toronto Real Estate Board, and then all the listings that do come out, we look on the Toronto Real Estate Board. We don't look on the MLS. MLS is basically for general information for the public for around Canada. I know people from around the world do look at it. But truthfully, when we do book appointments to see properties, we only look at it on our own board, and we pull out the listings on that. The MLS is an interesting, I know the public believes that it is the most important part of selling. Truthfully, it is another realtor that's involved and part of the real estate. Buying and selling a home is a very complicated process. Everyone believes that it's like selling a quick car and you're done, but it's not. It's very complicated. There's a lot of legalities involved, and you could lose a considerable amount of money in this world if you make the wrong mistake, the wrong decisions. An experienced realtor is there to guide you from beginning to end and provide a level of service that is beyond just posting on the MLS. I mean, there are various websites out there for sale by owners. People do try to sell it on themselves, trying to sell, save on the commission, but the fact is statistically, I would say almost 98% never end up selling, and at the end they hire a local realtor to list it and market it and promote it and sell it. It's not just listing it on the MLS, it's about marketing, negotiating, promoting, and protecting you in your valuable asset.
You're listening to CJFB-FM, Bolton's B105.5 on your FM dial, streaming live across the planet, provided, of course, if you're hooked up to the internet. With us live in the studio, right here in person, Mr. Arsen Gulesserian, broker with Remax, thishouse.ca, answering questions all about real estate. Our phone lines are open, 905-951-2899, and you can also email us at info@radiocaledon.com. We got a break for commercial. We'll be right back in about 3.5 minutes.